upon arrival in Singapore. In total, there are 9 new cases today, taking the national tally now to 62,245. 4,384 people in the vicinity of Hougang Avenue 8 have been tested for COVID-19, and all of them were found to be negative. The Health Ministry says that it finished testing yesterday the visitors of Block 506 Hougang Avenue 8 and residents and visitors of the neighboring blocks. These included 7 other blocks along Avenue 10, Avenue 4, and Street 61.
Retail pharmacies that will be selling DIY COVID-19 test kits say they will provide information to customers on how to do the tests. So how actually do these tests work? Shannon Sia finds out.
From next Wednesday, DIY COVID-19 test kits will be available at selected pharmacies. One of them, Watsons, says they'll be priced between $10 and $13. Another chain, Unity, says 39 of its outlets were selected as they have in-house pharmacists. They'll be able to provide more information on the antigen rapid tests and help customers use them. Now, the swabbing is the most important part. You put it into your nostril a few centimeters in until you feel some resistance, and then rotate it for at least 5 times. And then repeat it for the other nostril. Once that's done, you put it onto this buffer bottle and swirl it for at least 5 times. Next is where this testing device comes in. You put it on a flat surface and drop 5 drops of liquid onto it. And that's done. You just have to wait for the results to come out. After 15 minutes, one line appears to show I'm negative for COVID-19. The developer of this test kit says such tests would boost the country's capabilities.
This will impart flexibility to people to use these tests in different settings, like at home, at school, at workplace, or even before the concerts and events, or during travel. This will actually add scale, reach, and speed in Singapore's fight against COVID.
Abbott says it has more than enough stock here to meet demand. The distributor of another brand also expects the popularity of the test kits to rise as Singapore reopens.
We'll be bringing in more supplies to cater to the demands. A lot of other businesses, could it be F&B businesses, because we do see a need of self-monitoring. That also opportunity here for the people who are the first line workers, that they have to be exposed to potential risks, to be able to monitor themselves regularly.
For people who test positive, the government has said they should immediately visit a clinic to do a PCR test to confirm the result. While one expert says it's difficult to enforce this, he adds that a DIY test is still an extra layer of protection against the coronavirus.
Is there any way to police it? No way. Because individuals have the right to use it and do it themselves. With so many tests that are done in the clinics as well as in the hospitals, do we even need to do this self-antigen testing? The answer is the more tests we do, the more likely we'll find that elusive, unlinked COVID-19.
The Health Sciences Authority requires developers of these test kits to monitor and submit accuracy and safety data.
Still to come, what's uniting G7 leaders as they meet in the English county of Cornwall? And hopes are growing that Singapore students can soon return to Australian universities.
I long to visit the other side of the Korean border. The desire has grown stronger ever since I started reporting on the Korean Peninsula. Many times, my dream to cross into the north had turned into despair. Her recent development has restored my belief that there's still hope. It's not about unification, it is more about reuniting Koreans cruelly separated by politics and ideology.
tonight. As the world starts flying again after the worst year in aviation history, is this the right time to look at aviation stocks? Risks and rewards in frontier markets.
There is value both within and outside Asia.
Plus, how to invest in the future of competitive video games.
Once people are used to doing things digitally, they will continue.
Tonight, 10:30 p.m.
Deep dive into different technologies on your next visit to Gundam. Experience and learn about electric cars while sipping on a cup of coffee brewed by a robot. Get amazed by what the future holds in this cutting-edge tour. Sunday on CNA. This program is brought to you by the Gundam Goo Office. Every day, the financial world goes through dramatic rise and falls. We'll track the biggest market movers and show you where the opportunities lie. Get the experts' take on the performance of key indices. Plus all the analysis to help you understand forces driving global economies. The daily business news you need. Only on CNA. This segment is brought to you by Xeon Corporation.
तो लोकेस्ट का जो अटैक है वो 27 इयर्स में सबसे ज़्यादा जो अटैक हुआ था वो लास्ट ईयर हुआ था तो 2020 में
然后呢，非洲猪瘟呢，其实对中国的猪肉消费市场啊是影响是非常大的。
Traditional supply chain yang ada sekarang itu menjadi sebuah permasalahan untuk nelayan.
I would say 80% of them said I was crazy.
तो हमने सोचा कि ये हमारा एक टेक्नोलॉजी को रियल टाइम है जब मार्केट में लाने के लिए और
this first country meat produced in China. That's magic.
Race to Feed the World, Monday on CNA.
Updating tonight's top stories, Jewel Changi Airport will reopen on Monday, but passenger terminals will remain closed to the public for now as staff adjust to new COVID-19 safety measures. The Singapore company under probe for illegally manufacturing surgical masks. More than 80,000 masks have been seized. Some 10,000 employers are awaiting the arrival of domestic helpers amid a recent travel ban. Hires are being wooed with offers of bonuses and more rest days.
Malaysia will extend its nationwide lockdown by 2 weeks. It had been due to end on Monday, but it will now continue until the end of June. COVID-19 cases and deaths in the country remain high despite 2 weeks of tight restrictions. Nearly 7,000 new infections have been reported after 2 days of dipping below 5,000. Nearly half of the cases are in Selangor. Since Malaysia went into full lockdown at the beginning of the month, only essential economic activities and services have been allowed to operate. At the same time, the King has held a series of meetings with political leaders to discuss the government's handling of the pandemic. The president of the country's largest party, UMNO, has joined calls for Parliament to reconvene so that lawmakers can address the impact of COVID-19.
Reported incidents of armed robbery against ships in Asia fell by almost half in the first 5 months of this year, compared to the same period last year. Armed robberies are those that occur within a state's jurisdiction. For the same period, there were no reported cases of piracy incidents. Piracy incidents are those that happen in international waters. There were 28 incidents, and these include actual and attempted robberies. The majority were at least serious or Cat 4 cases where the perpetrators were not armed and the crew were not armed and the crew were not harmed. This year's figure is one of the lowest since 2007. The latest ones were reported off India's Diu Island and in the Singapore Strait. 15 of these happened in the Singapore Strait, the same number as last year. There were no incidents reported in areas like Bangladesh and the South China Sea. Regions that saw a decrease in incidents include Indonesia and the Philippines. In reply to CNA queries, Maritime Information Sharing Center RECAP says increased patrols and law enforcement by coastal state authorities were one of the contributing factors.